Jaguars Happy Hour. And now, the fourth Brady brother mummy that no one talks about, J.P. Shadrick.
I'm way too young for that. Welcome in. It's Jaguars Happy Hour. My name's J.P. Shadrick. We've got a busy 2 hours ahead on this Thursday afternoon. Coming up on Jaguars Happy Hour, it's Analyst Jeff Lageman. The Texans and the Jaguars coming up in Week 5, a 1 o'clock kickoff time this Sunday at TIAA Bank Field, an AFC South home divisional battle. The first of two games in a row in the AFC South of the Jaguars. Next week, it's on to Indy to face the Colts again. And then at 5 o'clock, the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network. We'll hear from the Jaguars head coach coming up and get his thoughts going into this home matchup. Legends Weekend coming up. Plenty to discuss today. The Jaguars' continued preparation for this game against the Texans. It was coordinator day at the podium earlier. We heard from Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, and, of course, ball security in the pocket is priority number one for the quarterback, a major issue a week ago.
Always being ball aware in the pocket, having two hands on, being secure in your grip. And, you know, that's one of the danger zones we talk about is in the pocket. And the way he holds the football, we continue to emphasize that in individual, continue to show him examples of good, bad. You know, it happens. Quarterbacks, you get hit in the pocket, you're extended, you're ready to throw the football. Something happens from time to time. You know, we want to do everything we can in our power with the drill work, with just emphasizing, showing him good, showing him bad. He understands that, and that's something he's working to correct for himself as well. But yeah, it happens. It was very unfortunate. The unfortunate part in that game, at least, was there were two completely unforced. You know, we had a quarterback center exchange, and then we had one that just slipped out of our hand. So those were really the disappointing ones. When it happens in the pocket, it's going to happen from time to time. You want to do everything you can to not let that happen, but we understand that. But the two unforced were the ones that really, really hurt us.
As Press Taylor, offensive coordinator, let's rewind to Wednesday. Trevor Lawrence knows the final result is the most important thing, of course, each and every week. But there were some things to take away positive from last week's outing moving ahead.
I think the positive is, you know, seeing how well we can play and how good we can be when we don't make mistakes, when we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, when we don't turn the ball over, when we play in sync, when we complement each other offensively and defensively. I mean, you saw us jump out of that lead early, and it's just, you know, being more consistent and doing that throughout the game. We've done that the 2 weeks before. That's kind of what we did, and you saw the end result. And then this week, did that early and just didn't finish. So we know we're heading in the right direction, but it's just about consistency.
Now to the defense. 210 rushing yards allowed to the Philadelphia Eagles last week in the losing effort. Houston does like to run the football as well. Defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell today, he said he knows they can get back to that form.
I think that's part of it. He's another option that they have, but at the end of the day, we were out of our gaps. We didn't play fundamentally sound, so we got to get back to doing what we do.
Well, what they do is, at least the first 3 weeks of the season, lead the league in rushing defense. That's from sound earlier this week, and today, Coordinator Day. We welcome in Jeff Lageman, Jaguars Analyst.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Here we are, Week 5.
Is it 5 already?
Already, we're in October.
Yeah.
It's the Jaguars and the Texans.
Cool weather in the air. Feels like fall.
Autumn in the air.
Yeah.
It's almost deer season.
It is deer season.
You're fired up. It's the biggest smile I've seen on your face in a long time.
It's October. I always look forward to October because, you know, October's kind of the start of fall down here, and where you wake up in the morning and you feel like you've got some 50-degree, 60-degree mornings, and you don't feel like you're going to just be sweating all day, and so it's kind of nice, and it's especially nice when it comes to football time because that weather's cool. It's like, you know, you ever have a dog, JP?
I've had a dog, yes.
Okay.
I have had a dog in my past, yes.
Have you noticed when the weather cools off, the dog just has a little higher amount of energy? Well, that's the way it is, JP. You're obviously not a dog guy. You haven't had very many of them because I can tell you the people that have dogs know that when the weather cools off, the dogs get excited. Well, when it comes to football season, the dogs get excited about football too, and I'm talking about the football player dogs.
Okay, because the heat of the summer's out of here.
It's gone. It's time to play ball, and you feel like you've got a little bit more endless amount of energy because the weather's cooler.
Well, I got news for you. Last week's game was cool and wet and rainy and sloppy, and it didn't serve the Jaguars well at all.
It was a little cold. It was I can tell you that playing in games that are wet and cold or wet and cool, whatever you want to call it, are not a lot of fun. And it was kind of one of those games where you could sit there and say before the game, and we talked about this on our radio broadcast. You got to protect the football when you have inclement weather, and you weren't expecting the ball to be turned over possibly 6 times. I mean, because it could have been 6, right? James Robinson had it on the turf when he got stripped from behind. And so
that means it was on the ground 5 times.
5 fumbles and an interception. I mean, that's just, man, you talk about inclement weather having an impact. There you go.
Well, there's 2 teams. Eagles didn't seem to have much of an issue with that.
Well, that's always the deal, I mean, it's the same weather for both teams. Give the Eagles credit. I mean, that's what they did a great job with it. They protected the ball. They were the more physical team, both on the offensive line. Their offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the league. I'll tell you that. They've got an excellent right tackle in Lane Johnson. The center, Jason Kelsey, has been a really good football player. I think it's his 13th year, and he's still a top 5 center. I mean, still a top 5 center in his 13th year. The guards are solid players. Jordan Mailata, who ended up going out early in that ball game, is a good football player, but his replacement came in, and they never missed a beat.
Let's move it ahead now for the Jaguars offense. Trevor Lawrence, of course, the 5 turnovers, 1 interception in the red zone, the 4 lost fumbles. That's an NFL record for a single player in a single game, and it's amazing,
good.
Right? No, not ideal.
You don't want to have that record attached to your name.
Well, moving ahead now. He seems like he has the head on his shoulders to just move past that. It's not, you don't want to give the ball away anytime, but he didn't throw 4 interceptions in bad places in the secondary either. These seem a little more fixable than maybe you would be more concerned if he's throwing 4 picks. Or would you be?
Well, yes and no. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still the same number, as far as giveaways. And so –
but I guess my point is there's still confidence in his ability to see the field and downfield.
Well, I get what you're saying, and that as far as, okay, this is something that it's just an awareness thing, whereas if he's throwing 4 interceptions in a game, you're going, wait a minute, what's he seeing?
Right.
But from the standpoint of actually in the game, the interceptions might be downfield, and then you're not giving up great field position by fumbling at the line of scrimmage.
Okay,
so maybe from that standpoint – you would rather have the fumbles, but I get what you're saying, and it's certainly, and Doug talked about this, and that there's plenty of coachable, teachable moments in the game, and plenty of them for Trevor when he is in the pocket and he has rush. You've got to keep the ball tight, use your other hand at times if need be. You got to feel the pressure. You've got to adjust in the pocket. And on the 2 that Juwan Taylor got bull rushed back into him, he didn't feel it. He didn't protect the ball. The quarterback sneak where he fumbled the exchange, you got to get the snap before you start lunging forward. The snap looked clean. It looked like it came up. So I wouldn't put that on Fortner, the rookie. And then on the scramble out of the pocket, you're carrying the ball like a loaf of bread, and you can't just lose the grip on it. So tough lesson for Trevor. And then on the interception was a poor decision. He had an underneath guy, and I think it was Jamal Agnew, that he had open underneath. And you had it perfect. What I mean, you had it perfect. You had one guy on the defense that was forced to cover 2.5 guys. So you had exactly what you wanted. You just needed Trevor to make the right read. Well, the defensive back, Bradbury, kind of guesses on the play and guessed correctly that Trevor was going to throw it to Kirk, and he just steps right in front and makes the pick. If you throw that to Agnew, Agnew's got, last time I checked, how many return touchdowns does Agnew have?
A bunch.
Like 9?
Yeah.
And then you count the field goal return for a touchdown. So, Jamal Agnew in open space with one defender to beat I'll take that any day of the week, right? With a potential blocker in front in Christian Kirk. So Trevor's got to throw that underneath and then live with it. And then he had some plays that he missed down the field. So all in all, the one thing I appreciate about Trevor is that he never shies away from taking accountability or being an accountable quarterback. And he talked about it, and he said that after the game, he did it just like he would after a good performance. He reviewed the film on the plane, and then to kind of put it to bed so that the next day when they meet about it and talk about it, that he's prepared to be able to get better, make the adjustments, and listen to the coaches, and then move on. And that's, I think, very smart. So he's a very mature quarterback, JP, and I think we all kind of realize that. And this is kind of a measuring stick, a test for Trevor Lawrence. Can he bounce back against a division opponent that many people believe that you should beat and bounce back from the game that you had in Philadelphia?
Zay Jones missed last week's game, wide receiver with an ankle injury that popped up on the report Thursday of last week. He's back on the report this week, limited though, and back out on the practice field some. How different of an offensive attack can this be with Zay? Did we see – how much different did they do without him in the lineup last week?
Well, I don't think it had much of an impact because the reality is that the conditions weren't great. So, Zay's kind of a take the top off of the defense threat. And, you definitely missed him because he's a good football player. But, Jamal Agnew came in and did a pretty good job. So, it's hard to complain on that.
Yep.
The reality is that Trevor's got to be better. Christian Kirk has to be better. He did not have a great game. Marvin Jones didn't have a great game. He had a drop as well. It ended a streak, I think, of 117 consecutive games with a catch.
Yep.
And it would have been 118, but he had the drop. So it goes around, as far as the accountability, responsibility of the poor performance on offense. But, boy, the majority of that load falls right at the doorstep of Trevor Lawrence.
This week, the Jaguars face the Houston Texans, and I got to say, who are these guys on defense for them? This is not the Texans' defense that you're accustomed to over the last decade or so. They've had so much change in personnel and people and scheme, and everything's just new in Houston. Who are these guys?
Well, you tell me. Seriously. It's – the J.J. Watts and
Clowney and
Merciless Whitney. And
Whitney Merciless.
Whitney Merciless. All those
corners,
great players that they
corners.
had. They had great linebackers.
All of them.
They had really, really, really good defenses, and that has kind of gone by the wayside. And right now, if somebody asked me who the best Texans defender is, I really couldn't give you an answer because I don't think they're very good. I don't think they're very good in the front seven. I don't think they're great in the back end. I think they've got some young players that I think that many people believe that they can be good. Their second-round pick Petrie from Baylor's, good player, good young player. And then they've got Derek Stingley, who is their first-round pick corner from LSU, who really – JP, did he play any in the last 2 years for the most part at LSU?
He was banged up a lot the last year, especially.
Banged up a lot, and he's supposed to be this exceptional man kind of coverage corner.
He was for a year. But 3 years ago.
But JP, they play cover 2 zone with Lovie Smith. It's like, okay, what are you doing? And maybe they're drafting for the future when Lovie Smith is not the coach.
You mentioned Petrie, and he's around the ball a lot, like 3 tackles for losses, couple interceptions.
Yeah, he actually had one of the youngest, I think he's one of the only rookies to ever have 2 interceptions and a sack in one game, and he got that against the Bears earlier this year. But many think he's a talented young player, but the front seven is where you really need to take advantage of because, look, Petrie's a young player.
Right.
So if you're kicking their rear ends up front to where you're running the ball effectively, and oh, by the way, the Texans are the second worst run defense in the National Football League. Now the Texans are having to get out of cover 2. They've got to load the box to delete their coverage a little bit. And so now you can find big plays on the back end. But you find that after you establish the run and you take advantage of what I would consider not a great front seven. When you watch them, and there's veteran guy Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes played for the Colts, played for the Buffalo Bills. It was a very good sacker. He's got 4 sacks this year. But, man, when you watch him play the run, he's terrible. He's terrible. Run it right at him every time. I mean, I'm seriously running at him every time. The guy goes up the field and takes himself out of the play every single time. You know, and the linebackers, you've got Christian Kirksey, who's been a good football player, veteran player, plays hard. And then Camus Grugier-Hill, who's an outside, weak side linebacker that does a good job. And he's a try hard, play hard guy. But, I mean, as far as talent, I mean, they don't have a lot of talent. Their defensive tackles, J.P., nameless guys. I mean, seriously, nameless guys. They're just guys.
So it's the running back day then. Run the ball, right?
Well, and I think that's where it's going to come down to from a lot of different angles. From the Jaguars standpoint, taking advantage of that front seven, and then also from a defensive standpoint that you need to stop Dameon Pierce, who's a very good young running back of the Texans.
And we'll come back and flip it around to the Jaguars defense and their matchup this week against the Houston Texans. PRI Productions, the official event production company of the Jags, has everything you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com. Coming up at 5 o'clock, it's the Doug Pederson Show. This is Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
It's Ford Truck Month. Now's the time to get a great deal on the only trucks built Ford tough. Work or play, get after it in a new Ford F-150 or Super Duty truck. Get a Ford Maverick or get after any adventure in a Ford Ranger pickup. Take advantage of our best offers on the full Ford lineup of trucks. But you better get going. These deals won't last. Get to Ford Truck Month. Some models, trims, and features may not be available or may be subject to change. See your local dealer for details.
Thinking about your favorite whiskey or whiskey-based cocktail for this weekend's party or tailgate? Us too. While you're out shopping for supplies, don't forget to pick up a bottle of the 2022 Jaguars whiskey available at most local Jacksonville liquor stores. Not leaving the couch this weekend? No problem. You can also order a bottle online at citrusdistillersonline.com. Every bottle is made locally here in Duval.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gate's frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa Debit Card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Here's 150 more reasons to love Dunkin'. When the Jaguars have 150 passing yards during a game, you score a free classic donut with the purchase of any beverage from Dunkin'. Enjoy classic donut favorites, including the pumpkin donut, Boston cream, glazed, powdered, jelly-filled, and more. Offer not available on the Dunkin' mobile app. Offer only available with coupon found on the Jacksonville Jaguars app in participating Jacksonville, Florida area Dunkin' restaurants. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony. Jaguars Today. All Jaguars, all NFL, all the time. 10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
Welcome back. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on Thursday afternoon, Week 5. The Jaguars and the Texans coming up at the bank this Sunday. Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. We'll go on the air at 10 o'clock Sunday with the Publix Tailgate Show. And then at noon, it's countdown to kickoff. We will count 60 whole minutes until kickoff. The entire clock. Yes, we'll go all the way around once from noon until 1 o'clock. They'll kick it off here at the bank on Legends Weekend.
Legends.
We'll get to that coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend.
I think so. Let's get into this Jaguars defense and the matchup against Houston on offense. And you mentioned it. We'll get to the quarterback coming up. But Dameon Pierce, young running back. They're handing him the football. He's coming off a nice game last week. And, there you have his, at least on Jaguars.com, if you're watching, the guy was in the end zone 23 times at Florida in his career. Was not a huge yard gainer there, but he could cap it off and finish drives in the end zone. But here he is in Houston, and he gets a lot of work already.
Well, and that's really what they're leaning on right now as an offense. And the impressive thing about Pierce is that every week he's gotten better. He's almost doubled his yardage output on a week-to-week basis up until this past weekend. This past weekend he had, I think, 131 yards rushing, 14 carries. He had the 75-yard touchdown run. And the impressive thing is that he makes people miss and he doesn't go down easy. He ended up having 6 broken tackles in this game, and 100 of the 131 yards that he gained were after contact.
Yeah, wow.
That's impressive. And so it's not like he's a runner that just had clear sailing with these great big massive holes to run through. Now, he's got a couple guys up front that are pretty good up front, and a lot of people may know the right guard very well. A.J. Cann, right, former Jaguar. He is the starting right guard for the Houston Texans after starting here at right guard for many years, since going all the way back to the 2015 draft where he was a third-round pick. The right tackle I really like, Titus Howard. I think he's a young ascending player. The left tackle is a proven commodity and is a really good player in Laramie Tunsil. The center and left guard are kind of The left guard's a rookie who really struggled last week against the Chargers. And that's Kenyon Green, who was their second first-round pick, and he's from Texas A&M. Big guy, and he has moments. He looks really good. But, man, Tillery, the defensive tackle of the Chargers, kind of had his way with him a little bit. And then the center right now is Quessenberry, who is a backup. Their normal center has been hurt. So it's an okay offensive line, but that's really the motor of this offense is the running back, because their quarterback has regressed from what many people thought was a pretty dang good rookie year.
That's Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford, still a young player in the NFL. And, yeah, there were a lot of people who had him as kind of taking some big steps, but so far this year, 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks already this season for Mills.
Well, to give people an idea what I mean by regress, you go back to last year, he was completing the ball at a 66.8% clip. This year it's fallen off to 62%. His touchdowns last year, he actually had more touchdowns than interceptions, 16 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, and this year he's got just one more touchdown than interception, 5-4. His rating has dropped about 8.5 points this year, and that's just not supposed to happen in year 2 for a young quarterback. So I think he's got an average arm. You see a lot of completions in the short to intermediate and in the middle of the field. I don't think he has the arm talent to be able to work the outer edges and perimeter of a defense.
Back to this running game, and of course last week the Jaguars defense gave up 210 rushing yards to the Eagles. Foley Fatukasi is on the injury report this week with a quadriceps injury. He did not practice again today.
Yeah, I don't see him playing this week.
It's not trending the right direction,
No.
We'll say that. So, how concerned are you with the interior of this Jaguars defensive line right now without Foley if he's not available?
Well, very. That I think was the number one problem with the defensive performance last week was the performance of those 3 guys up front. You go to the two previous games against the Chargers and against the Colts, the Jaguars' defensive front absolutely dominated both of those teams. From Devon Hamilton to Fadakasi to Roy Robertson-Harris to even big guy, 96, drawing a blank, Adam Gotsis.
Yes.
I mean, they were all of them dominant in those two games, and then you go against the Eagles, and they got pushed around. And when they got pushed around a little bit, and we knew this, that it was going to be a challenge to face this Eagles offense because it's a run-pass option, read option offense with Jalen Hurts, who has good mobility. He's not Lamar Jackson, but the style of offense that they run, it can make you indecisive. Well, when you have three guys up front that are getting knocked around a little bit, then that makes it even harder for the linebackers to have something declare to where they can attack it downhill. And so it was a little bit of a perfect storm. Bad performance, up front, not what you wanted out of your three big guys. I think the scheme early on wasn't exactly probably what they wanted, and then the indecision by the linebackers. And then also, look, the Eagles, give them credit. They're a good football team.
And then you have to account for the quarterback in that offense in Philadelphia too, so that's an extra just body you have to count for.
Well, a lot of people don't understand that concept, and to give it to them from a number standpoint, when you try to outnumber the offense, and as far as like stacking the box, you're trying to stack the box. You want, and they say, hey, we got 8 guys in the box, and they've only got 7 blockers. We've got an unblocked defender. Well, when the quarterback becomes a viable runner, you lose that advantage because you now don't have one guy that can't be blocked, because he can be blocked because of either the fake handoff to the running back now misdirects that 8th unblocked guy, and then the quarterback is now a viable runner, or the running back could be a blocker. But then also when you have the RPO where you stick it in the running back's belly, and then you're thinking as a defense, okay, is he going to hand it off or is he going to keep it? Well, there's actually the third option is he's not going to do either, and he's going to just pull it out and throw the ball. And that's why facing that kind of an offense is incredibly difficult for a linebacker. And in those games, your up-front guys, they have to have a really strong performance, and they didn't get that against the Eagles.
Well, then take us through the linebacker performance last week and moving ahead for a guy like Lloyd and
the linebackers. Well, you have to, JP. That's not the only 2 linebackers on this defense. And I think sometimes people say, well, Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen aren't linebackers. Well, yeah, they are. They are in this defense. Okay, I thought that all 4 of them were a little reluctant as far as attacking the run, and a little unsure. I think it was arguably not Josh so much, but with Foye Lukin, Devin Lloyd, and Trayvon Walker, I thought it might have been their worst games. But, I mean, they haven't had bad games yet. So, I mean, when I say worst games, it's all relative to where they were at, especially with Devin Lloyd. Devin, the 2 previous games was fantastic. As a pass rushing group, you kind of noticed a mindset that was a little different. They were very concerned, obviously, about what Jalen Hurts could do if he got out of the pocket, and you could tell that from a couple of different ways. They were pass rushing by taking some of these linemen down the middle, and when you take an offensive lineman down the middle, you're trying to power rush him, but then you can peek either side of that offensive lineman to come off and make a tackle of Jalen Hurts if he decides to scramble. But what that does, it kind of takes your aggressiveness away. And in some aspects, it took away the power, because instead of center massing a guy, bull rushing him down the middle and hitting him with power, they weren't hitting him with power. They were too busy looking
in the backfield.
Yeah, what's going on back there with Jalen Hurts, instead of, power rushing, just play your game. And I would bet that, and I know that if I was a coach or if I was a player, that I'd want to do it differently the next time. I wouldn't be so cautious, maybe, or as concerned about Jalen Hurts the next time.
We'll come back in a moment. We'll take a look at the injury report. It's out for both teams. We'll get an update on Thursday's status for both the Texans and the Jaguars. And check out the official Jaguars Podcast Network. It's free on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you download podcasts. This program, of course, archived there. The Huddle Up Podcast, the Ozone Podcast, the Jaguars Broadcast Weekend Review Podcast. We've got podcasts coming out of our ears every week. Give us that 5-star rating as always. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Tired of hearing "fine" to every question you ask your child? Conversations with a child or teen in your life may sometimes feel one-sided, but they help build the foundation for lifelong mental wellness. Getting started can be difficult, but you don't have to do it alone. Wolfson Children's On Our Sleeves program provides just what you need to spark conversations that have lasting benefits. For free tools and expert advice delivered to your inbox each month, visit wolfsonchildrens.com/onoursleeves.
Kessler Creative, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has the print services you need for your business. Need large banners and signs for your next promotional event? How about custom boxes to advertise your company fleet? Find out for yourself how Kessler Creative can help you stand out from the competition with eye-catching designs that are sure to impress your customers. Kessler Creative, Jacksonville, Florida. Results-driven marketing and a proud partner of Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at TIAA Bank Field because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bono's is currently expanding its brand with franchise opportunities throughout the Southeast and beyond. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit barbecue and owning your own business are a great combo. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond.
When Jaguars news breaks, you'll hear about it first on 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
PRI Productions, the Southeast full-service event company, has everything you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com and learn more. It's Jaguars Happy Hour. It's Thursday afternoon. It's Week 5. I'm J.P. Shadrick, Jeff Lageman alongside Joe Fortunato, Brent Reber. Glad you're with us on Jaguars.com, Jaguars social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and 1010XL, and 92.5 FM on this Thursday. We're everywhere. We're all over Duval today. The Jags and the Texans, and the Jaguars 2-2, first place in the AFC South. Time now for the injury report, presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we take a look first, of course, at the Jacksonville Jaguars. 4 players on the report today. Outside linebacker Caleb Chazon with an ankle issue, limited today. Zay Jones with his ankle issue, limited also. Cole Van Lanen, offensive lineman with a hamstring issue, limited today. Foley Fatukasi did not practice today with that quadriceps issue suffered in last week's game in Philadelphia. On the other side today, the Houston Texans on Thursday had 5 players that did not participate in the practice today. That was this morning. They practiced early in Houston. Linebacker Blake Cashman with a concussion. Austin Deculus, offensive lineman with an ankle issue, did not practice. Jonathan Graynard, defensive lineman, ankle issue. Brevin Jordan, a tight end with an ankle issue, did not practice. And wide receiver Chris Moore with a hip issue did not practice. No one limited today. And a few guys who were out earlier on Wednesday were back to work, or were limited yesterday. We're back to work full today for the Texans. So there you go. The early couple weeks, the Jaguars didn't have anybody on the list, which is odd. I mean, it was the first time I remember that happening, but now a couple guys starting to creep on there. We mentioned Fatukasi and the impact that could make on the run defense for this Jags team. Chazon, special teams contributor for the most part right now for the Jags, and then Zay Jones, obviously a starting wide receiver for this team. So you got to get those guys healthy and back out there playing.
Yeah, they'll. I think they're trending in the right direction. You know, Doug was pretty confident early in the week when he said that all those guys will be back at practice. And typically, when you say that as a coach, you're pretty confident that they'll be back, available possibly for the game. So we'll have to wait and see to know more. But Fatukasi's the one that you're worrying about. They've got a guy on the practice squad, though, who is not kind of your typical practice squad guy in his 13th year. Corey Peters. Yep. Okay, Corey Peters has been in the league for quite some time, been a good football player, big, stout guy, and got good hands. He's a large dude, and I think if he has to play, I think he'll play well, and I'm not concerned about that overall. You know, you're not as I don't think he would have as much range as a Fatukasi. When I say range, as far as he can make tackles somewhere in this room, JP, but if he has to be out of this room, he might not make it, you know?
Well, he's 6'3", 335, so big body.
Pretty big.
13th year in the league.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. Where else he played?
He started out in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So he was with the Falcons from 2010 through 2014, and then with Arizona after that every year since then.
Okay.
So 2 teams, 152 games, 132 starts in his career.
He got some mileage on him.
You know, 19 sacks, big nose tackles. Not going to get back there a whole lot, but, you know, impacts plays, 50 tackles for loss in his career, and he's been at it for a long time.
What did he do last year?
Last year.
How many games played?
14, 11 starts.
Okay. So
24 tackles,
all right.
3 for a loss. I mean, he was active.
Okay.
He played.
Yeah, that's the luxury in this COVID world we live in now with the expanded practice squads. It gives you the ability to really have more people on a roster than what you used to have at 53. Mm-hmm. And the practice squad used to be limited to kind of developmental guys, and now you're allowed to put veteran guys on it, and it doesn't matter.
Was it like 10 guys when I first started here 10 years ago?
Yeah, the practice squad. I mean, the practice squads, we didn't even used to have them. You know, a few years back, there was no such thing as practice squads, and then they added the practice squad, and it was a minimal number of guys. I want to say it was 4 or 5, and they had to be rookies or first-year players. And then they expanded the number of practice squad, and then they changed the rule about the number of years of service. You could have 1 guy or 2 guys on the practice squad that were past, 2 or 3 years in the league. And then now it's like you can do whatever you want.
Then COVID happened and they expanded everything.
Yeah, you can put, Joe Namath on your practice squad if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
If his knees could handle it. Well,
they can't. Yeah, no, Joe's knees are bad.
No, I don't think so. So you have it. A few things to watch for the next day or so when the official status comes out Friday for both of these teams, and it's a big divisional matchup, of course, coming up. Hey,
a matchup that the Texans have owned
8 in a row and 14 of the last 16.
I mean, that's
the only wins in that time. Both the season sweep in 2017 for the Jaguars in the run to the AFC Championship.
My prediction this week is that you ended your 17, 18 game road losing streak when you went out to California and you beat the Chargers in L.A. So you ended that streak. And I think that you end this streak this week with the Texans by beating them at home here at TIAA Bank.
You know, what I think about that, too, is that, and kind of, I think Doug Pederson talked about this earlier in the week, you know, they break all these streaks because they don't really care about these streaks because not a lot of these guys were here for those streaks.
I mean, these guys weren't part of it,
You know what I mean?
but the fan base was,
Well, sure, I mean, we
JP.
all were, but that's their approach to it. It's like, we're just going to go set a new standard.
Well, and here's the reality, okay? When 1, 2, 3 weeks ago you were getting ready to face the Colts, right? The players, a lot of them that are here, didn't know what it was. The past history was with the Colts.
Yeah.
But what did you hear them all saying after the game?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, they're all saying, we always felt
streak.
confident playing. We always feel confident playing against the Colts in our own house. Okay, so you don't think the Texans are kind of doing the same thing, and maybe the mindset of the Jaguar players is that, hey, look, this Texans team has had our number. So I mean, if something doesn't go well early in that ball game, are you as a player going, oh, here we go again, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's something to think about. And the reality is that the Texans you look at their record against all of their opponents that they've ever played. They have like a .625 win percentage against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is an expansion team, the Houston Texans were. And that's, I think, the second highest rate of success versus any team that the Texans have played. I think the higher rate is they're like, I think, undefeated against the Miami Dolphins. And then I can't remember one other team they played. They've got a really good win percentage. But as far as in the division, that's their best win rate is against the Jaguars. So, and here's the reality. We all know that this is different than college football, even though this year we've seen, I think, App State beat who this year?
A&M.
Okay, so we've seen that in college football, but in the NFL, you always know that the old saying on any given Sunday, and that does apply. But the reality is that the Texans are a team that is in transition and rebuild mode. And so are the Jaguars. They are in transition with a new staff and new players, but the Jaguars are a little bit ahead of where the Texans are. And so you want to see the Jaguars show that they are ahead of where the Texans are by putting an end to this streak, especially because it's Legends Weekend, or I should say Alumni Weekend, because a lot of us alumni are not anywhere near close to Legend status.
Yeah, who's naming this?
Yes. And is that a self-name? It's like, did we give ourselves that name? I don't know.
Hey, we'll come back, though, and get a little more into that. Some of the events ahead this weekend for the alumni players coming back. Tony Baselli got the key to the city today. He already has like 5 of them, I think, right?
Do you think he can make me a
copy?
He
could unlock most doors in this town if he wanted to.
I'm going to have to take that key to the hardware store and get one made.
It's allowed. I don't know if it'll fit in their machine. If you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. Loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between, this truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's Jaguars Happy Hour coming up at 5 o'clock, the Doug Pederson Show, and this is the Jaguars Digital Network.
Reconnect with the best version of you at Amara Med Spa, Northeast Florida's premier luxury medical spa, located in Ponte Vedra, Town Center, Avondale, St. Augustine, and Fernandina. With the most advanced injectors, estheticians, and technology, Amara Med Spa is redefining beauty, offering services such as Botox and filler, M-Sculpt Neo, painless laser hair removal, and advanced skincare treatments. Visit theamaramedspa.com and book a complimentary consultation today.
Here's 150 more reasons to love Dunkin'. When the Jaguars have 150 passing yards during a game, you score a free classic donut with the purchase of any beverage from Dunkin'. Enjoy classic donut favorites, including the pumpkin donut, Boston cream, glazed, powdered, jelly-filled, and more. Offer not available on the Dunkin' mobile app. Offer only available with coupon found on the Jacksonville Jaguars app in participating Jacksonville, Florida area Dunkin' restaurants. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
It's football season, and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 45 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates Frequent Shopper Clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Tired of hearing "fine" to every question you ask your child? Conversations with a child or teen in your life may sometimes feel one-sided, but they help build the foundation for lifelong mental wellness. Getting started can be difficult, but you don't have to do it alone. Wolfson Children's On Our Sleeves program provides just what you need to spark conversations that have lasting benefits. For free tools and expert advice delivered to your inbox each month, visit wolfsonchildrens.com/onoursleeves.
Thinking about your favorite whiskey or whiskey-based cocktail for this weekend's party or tailgate? Us too. While you're out shopping for supplies, don't forget to pick up a bottle of the 2022 Jaguars whiskey available at most local Jacksonville liquor stores. Not leaving the couch this weekend? No problem. You can also order a bottle online at citrusdistillersonline.com. Every bottle is made locally here in Duval.
Jacksonville Sports Talk for Jacksonville sports fans. 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome back to Jaguars Happy Hour on a Thursday afternoon. J.P. Shadrick, Jeff Lageman, and if you're watching on Jaguars.com or Jaguars social media, a live look outside of the bank at the Miller Electric Center, under construction right next door. And the footprint of the old practice fields, well, not the old practice fields, but the newest old practice fields that will be once new again once this is finished. The indoor facility is just moving along day by day along the expressway on the far side, and then the main building is massive. The fields are starting to, or the grandstand at least on the side of the fields is starting to go up. So there's a lot of progress this week.
Oh, yeah. So do you know where the old practice field used to be?
Well, at Daly's Place now, right? In that or that kind of area down
yeah,
there.
that's right.
South end of the stadium.
The first place that we ever conditioned on for off-season conditioning, training, etc. We actually went out to the old baseball grounds.
Oh, right here in the parking lot where this is now.
Correct.
Yes, right.
And then
at Wolfson Park.
At Wolfson Park.
Yeah.
And then when the old Glidden paint factory was knocked down, they built this pristine, beautiful practice facility on what I'm sure was maybe a little bit of a contaminated area.
Huh.
We practiced there for a few years, and then it was moved up to where it currently this whole project is going on right now. But it's going to be an amazing complex, and it's going to put the Jaguars up with the modern NFL teams, because it seems like every team in the National Football League has a facility that's something similar to this.
I mean, remember we went to Minnesota for training camp? They have their own facility and their own place outside of Minneapolis.
Yeah, theirs is a little unique in that it's not at the stadium, number one, but then there's a whole development involved with the training facility. There's a medical complex. There's a stadium there that houses or hosts high school football games, championship games, and I think you probably even could have a college game there.
Yeah.
And then they have all this whole development that's in and around that medical facility. So quite the undertaking in Minnesota.
Yeah, and then, of course, we were in Atlanta, Flowery Branch. And
they were the first ones.
That place is fantastic.
Yeah, they were the first ones to really build the suburban type monster complex, and they have, I don't know exactly how many acres they have, I want to say it was like 40 acres in a range of 40 acres, because the players back in the old day, they were actually deer hunting on the grounds of the facility. I knew some guys that were with the Falcons that used to deer hunt right there. And then they built these apartment kind of complex down below to house the whole team for a training camp. And then they expanded the facilities in a big way. It's quite the place.
Well, you mentioned the old practice fields, and many of the players who are returning this weekend practiced on those fields. It's Legends Weekend. Tony Boselli will be honored at halftime. He will be presented his Ring of Excellence from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Tony Boselli number 71 teal rally towel, courtesy of Baptist Health, and you can take pictures with Boselli's Hall of Fame bronze bust starting at 10 o'clock Sunday morning in the Fan Entertainment Zone. And you can catch a screening of 71, the behind-the-scenes documentary. That's at Daly's Place at 11 o'clock as well. So a lot going on Sunday, and a lot of guys coming back on Alumni Weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen the list yet with
I haven't either.
With everybody that's coming back. I know that one of my all-time favorites is coming back, and I'm looking forward to seeing him, Tony Brackens.
All right.
Who was one of the most talented, one of the great Jaguars in its history. I mean, great pass rusher, great athlete, super guy, and super successful now, post-playing career. Always a big fan of Tony Brackens, one of my favorites.
And then, as we mentioned, at halftime, Jaguars owner Shad Khan will be out there on the stage as well, and there'll be a special announcement commemorating Boselli's legacy. Not sure what that is. We'll find out at halftime. So a lot going on. And, what else is happening with the alumni this weekend? Events all weekend?
There's quite a few different events. I think they start on Friday, where there's a thing at Top Golf, and then there's a Saturday breakfast, and then they get to come in.
Quick turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be. There might be a few fellas that.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Feeling a little rough at breakfast on Saturday, but nonetheless, they come in and they'll be able to watch the practice. I'm sure they'll get to meet some of the players and the coaches.
The walkthrough, yes. On Saturday.
The walkthrough on Saturday, and then Saturday evening there is at the Ritz Theater.
Yep.
Downtown.
Yep.
It's going to be like a cocktail hors d'oeuvres thing for the former players, and then the showing of 71. The documentary of 71.
Mm-hmm.
And that will end soon after that, and then everybody will head their separate way. And then there's game day. They got a tailgate party going on with family and friends of Tony and former players, and then players are going to be at the game. I think they'll be out there at the halftime, the presentation of Tony's Hall of Fame ring. So it's going to be cool.
It is going to be cool, and it's turned into.
I can't wait to see the ring.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Well, I don't know. That's
I think
what
it is.
I mean,
I've seen these before. They're pretty big.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like I don't know if is it big and gaudy like the Super Bowl rings that have been made in the last couple years that you can't even wear them on a day-to-day basis because it just.
We always joke with Tony
pulls your arm down
on Mondays with Prisco that he should wear the jacket on the air, and he actually had it in here the other day for some shoot he was doing, and we couldn't talk him into it because he had a T-shirt on, and he didn't want to wear it on the show and have Prisco rip him for it. But maybe the ring, maybe we can get him to wear the ring on the show, and he could show it on the. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. It's hard to talk him into some of that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, well, look, because if we like to give him a hard time. If he wore the gold jacket in the radio broadcast booth, we'd be like, oh,
yeah,
we'd have fun with it. No, but it's cool. I'm super excited for him and super happy, and excited to have some of these former players come in to celebrate with him because a lot of those. The cool thing about Tony is how humble he was with the whole process this summer, and then. When he decided what was going to go in his locker at the Hall of Fame, I thought it's going to touch a lot of guys' hearts that played with that 95 team because the the 1995 team autographed football is in his locker at the Hall of Fame, and that's pretty unique.
That's really cool. Everybody's in there with him. If that's the case.
Exactly. And so we're, all of his former teammates are just celebrating with him and very happy for the moment, and and hopefully excited to watch Jaguars win against the Texans.
Speaking of the Texans and the Jaguars coming up in Week 5, the Jags at 2-2, the Texans at 0-3-1. They've been in most every game. They lost a big lead Week 1 to tie that game against Indy, then lost 2 tight ones the next 2 weeks, lost by 10 last week to the Chargers. The Jaguars are looking to bounce back after a loss last week in Philadelphia to go to 2-2, and now 8 straight losses against the Texans. 14 of the last 16 have gone to the Texans as well. But, hey, Logs, wins this week and next against Indy, all of a sudden it would be 3-0 in the division for the Jaguars.
JP,
we're moving ahead.
Hey,
I've already locked this game on Wednesday on Huddle Up. It's a lock. Jaguars win. Moving on to Indy. It's going to be 3-0 in the division. What a start.
Talk about getting ahead of yourself. I mean, let's just, look, get this one and enjoy this one. Then I honestly didn't know who we had on the schedule after this week.
You want to hear the rest of the games too?
No,
we
JP,
we can go down the list if you want.
No, look, the Colts, I think, will be much improved by the time the Jaguars face them again. I'm when you've got a veteran quarterback, you're going to figure it out at some point, and so I think that they will not be the same team that the Jaguars faced here a couple weeks ago. And this Texans team, how many times have we said in years past, the Jaguars are going to win this one? It's the Texans. They're a dumpster fire. Oh, they're terrible. Just like what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Now, the reality is that they're a professional football team, okay? So that means that they can win. And if you don't play well, they will win. So you've got to make sure that you play well.
Quit making self-inflicted errors, fumbles, overthrows, drops, out of gaps on defense. All that's got to go away. And if they do, they can hang with any team in the NFL. They've proven that at least a couple times.
Well, and you got to have your quarterback play well. I mean, that's kind of an each and every week type of thing. And at the very least, you can have your quarterback, hurt you with giving the ball away. And we've never seen anything like that with Trevor Lawrence. And I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's mentally tough. He has been mentally tough for a long time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the success that he's had nearly at every level that he's been at. And so, I think he's going to come back and play exceptionally well this week.
All right, coming up tonight on television in Jacksonville, it's Jaguars All Access from Strings Brewery in Springfield on Fox 30 tonight at 7 o'clock. Josh Allen, your regular co-host and special guest.
Jamal Agnew, who had a big game, had a real nice game last week, had the 2 touchdowns, and he ended up having 4 catches for 50 yards. Had a nice game.
I talked to him this week and Cam Robinson about the play where they set up the screen on the left side in the second quarter, and Jamal said, all I saw was green jerseys, so I had to wait on my guy, and his guy came in and pancaked a defensive back.
Yeah, I think it was Bradbury that Cam Robinson got, and he just literally trucked him. And Cam is super athletic. That's the one thing about Cam Robinson, and what I love about this coaching staff is that they are playing to the strengths of their players. When you have an athletic tackle that can get out and run in space like a Cam Robinson, okay, we'll do some things to where he is allowed to do that. And that's a big change from in years past around here to where you see custom tailored game plans to the skill set of the players, and it's awesome to see.
All right, Doug Pederson show coming up in a little over a minute from now. What do you want to hear from the Jaguars head coach tonight?
Well, I want to talk about the quarterback. I want to find out, what his perspective is on it, and because to me, that's the number one question going into this week.
All right, it's coming up shortly. The Doug Pederson show. We'll hear from the Jaguars head coach here in studio in just a few minutes' time as the Jaguars try to maintain their standing in first place in the AFC South with a big divisional game coming up Sunday. The Houston Texans are coming to town on Alumni Weekend. And, yes, the Colts are next, Logs. That's 2 weeks away from right now as the Jaguars.
All I know, JP, it's not the Colts, okay? We got the Texans this week. Next week we're going to Indianapolis, and we're going to eat some good shrimp cocktail But let's not get into the game yet.
You were going. I'm
we
right
as
here.
in me and Baselli and Frank. Bucky.
Take a nice photograph and send it back.
I will.
I'm sure you
will. Do you want me to bring you back some of that cocktail sauce that they have?
I'm good.
Okay.
It's very good. Coming up next, Jaguars Radio Network coverage with the Doug Pederson Show. We'll hear from the Jaguars head coach and get his thoughts ahead of this Week 5 matchup. This has been Jaguars Happy Hour on Jaguars Radio.
Welcome to the Doug Pederson Show, brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. J.P. Shadrick and former Jaguar Jeff Lageman discuss the latest Jaguars news with the head coach. The Doug Pederson Show starts right now.
Welcome into the Doug Pederson Show. It's Week 5. The Jaguars welcome in the division rival Houston Texans this Sunday. And along with Jeff Lageman and head coach Doug Pederson, here we go. It's a divisional rivalry coming up. It's a home game. It's Legends Weekend. There's a lot going on here at the bank, Coach.
There's a lot happening, and it's going to be an exciting weekend. Houston Texans, good football team. When you watch these guys on tape, these guys fly around. They play hard. It's unfortunate for them. They've been on the losing end of things. But this team, you can see Lovie Smith, his fingerprints all over this football team, and they play extremely hard for him, and he'll have that thing turned around in no time.
I know that you don't refer much to history, but the history shows that the Texans have played very well against the Jaguars, much like the Jaguars have played very well against the Colts at home. So, I don't care how good they are, they've played well against this football team.
Exactly right, and that's something that our team is aware of. You look at the two games last year, and there were some leads there, and there's some things that we didn't do so well in those football games, and it's just something that we've got to be able to take care of. Just take care of our own, and just focus on us and our jobs, and we've got to rebound too from what I would call a kind of an ugly loss. Last week in the muck up in Philadelphia, but something that we can flip around this weekend.
I'm sure it'll be nice to get back to good weather as it is down
always,
here. Right?
Always, yes.
Yeah, and part of that kind of getting back to being your brand of football, your quarterback had 5 giveaways in Philadelphia, and you played the position. How important, because we typically don't talk about toughness when we talk about quarterbacks, but how mentally tough does he have to be to get through that?
He's got to be extremely tough mentally. Those things, you get one, and I think you can kind of handle that. You start getting the second one, in that game, and the third, and that's where it really starts playing on the psyche of the quarterback, especially the mind, and then you become hesitant as a passer, and you're not getting through your progressions and reads. So it's something that we've talked with him about early in this week, just to not only to point him out, but just to understand that, hey, listen, those things are going to happen, and how well can we just flip the switch, focus on the next play, get back on the horse, as we say, and make that next pass.
Head coach Doug Pederson with us. Another point last week, Jaguars defense gave up 210 rushing yards, and this is a Texans group that will hand it off and run effectively. How does that group bounce back after entering that game last week, number 1 in the league?
Yeah, I think they will. One of the things that we saw on the tape, the next day and watching it again is just we've got to stay disciplined in our run fits. It was a little bit of Washington game all over again from that standpoint, a little undisciplined or out of character for some of our guys, and we just got to get back to playing our brand of football and staying disciplined within the game plan, understanding your role in the game plan, and taking it to the field. And I know our guys will bounce back, and they do have our division is built to run the football, and that's why we went out and got some of the not only the draft picks but the free agents to help us stop the run.
And Pierce is a great young back that the Texans have. And going back to the Philadelphia game, You know me, Doug. I watched the defensive line very closely. I thought that was an off game for your front three big guys. If they get back to being a little bit more stout, that makes it easier for your young linebackers.
It does, and give credit to Philadelphia. That's a good offensive line that they win against. But I do like our three interior guys. You know, they've really proven, you know, in those 2 wins how dominant they can be, you know, in the run game, and so they've got to bounce back and have that type of performance this weekend.
Now, Davis Mills is not Jalen Hurts. You know, okay, that's not going to run the read option probably. But do you expect to see the read option? You know, it's kind of a copycat league. Even though he's not a runner, you're probably going to see it, aren't you?
I think everybody's offensive playbook has some form of read option, you know, that zone read. And then regardless of if the quarterback's mobile or not, you know, you're even seeing Matt Ryan run it a little bit, you know, from time to time, whether he's just pulling it himself or by scheme. But, you know, I mean, this is something that every team's going to do, and Davis is very capable of handling that. You know, he's a good passer. He's smart. Thing is, what you're seeing too is his leadership with that football team and how he's kind of brought them back and given their team an opportunity in the fourth quarter to win some of these games.
Matt Ryan, the speedy Matt Ryan's running the read option. Huh? Wow, we'll see them in a couple weeks.
We'll see them in a couple weeks.
I guess so. It's head coach Doug Pederson with us. All right, so a Texans defense. What does a Lovie Smith defense feel like? And, you know, they have a couple of safeties that are 1 and 3 on their team in tackles, aggressive guys from the back end.
Well, what you're seeing with this defense is, number one, again, we're seeing how high energetic and fast moving this team is. They fly around with a lot of team speed, and then you're seeing the Lovie Smith kind of fingerprint of cover 2 with this front. The Pirate stunts are a lot of movement and games up front with their D linemen and linebackers. You know, he prides himself on third down playing that traditional cover 2 and keeping everything in front of him. But he's also mixing in his single high coverages. But you're seeing that traditional 4-3 base defense, and they play it well, and they've got the guys to do it and guys to run, and it's something you don't see every single week. You know, you see more 5-man fronts nowadays. That's kind of the trend in the National Football League, and now going back to the traditional 4-3 is a little bit of a throwback for us as coaches trying to scheme it up.
You brought up a term that gave me a flashback. Pirate. I started hearing that term in 1990 when Pete Carroll instituted it in our game plan. And real quick, just to describe to people what a pirate is.
Yeah, a pirate stunt is just taking a tackle and an end, and they're gonna stem down into the gap inside of them, right? They're gonna what we call a pirate. They're gonna rock inside and create havoc. You usually take a 3 technique and maybe a 6, and they're gonna go hard inside, to disrupt, and that's what this style of defense is, a disruptive style of defense, and they try to with their front 7, pile everything up and really try to stop and slow down your run game.
When you face a lot of cover 2, a lot of people's first instinct is, okay, we got to run the football if we're seeing cover 2. Is that kind of still the same mindset?
Well, all the middle open defenses that you see, you would love to run the football, but they've got ways now with the corners, with the way these corners are being aggressive off the edges, the way these backers fly. They try to create one line of scrimmage. These backers are going to fly into the A gaps, B gaps, C gaps to try to disrupt some of the combo blocks by your offensive line. So they can stay in their shell defense. It's just how well we handle the movement and the stunting by this line up front. And that gives us the best chance to run the ball if we can handle that.
Head coach Doug Pederson with us on the Doug Pederson Show. Let's go to the Microsoft Surface for a social media question for the head coach at FlatCapJaguar on Twitter today, Coach. Has anything positively surprised you about this team that you didn't expect when you took the job?
That's a great question, And I would say that just the leadership of this team, this is a young football team, but having the leadership that we do with some of these guys and the maturity that I've seen with this team was a bright spot, was a surprise a little bit, because sometimes with young players you just don't see that, right? You kind of rely on the veteran, crafty guy to be the leader, but this group, when I got here in February and then seeing them again in April in the offseason program, how they embrace that, and it was the young guys. It was those guys that have led this team, and it's been a pleasantly surprising situation for me, and one that I've really embraced and really like.
I'm on the outside looking in, but I'm a people watcher, and so all through training camp, when I'm out there at practice, which isn't very often, get a chance to watch your guys. What impresses me, because it's very hard for new guys to come into a program or a team and to have an impact in a leadership category, a lot of the new guys that you brought in free agency have made a big impact in that category of leadership.
They have. You think about Christian and Zay on offense, right? You think about Brandon Scherf on offense. I mean, these three guys right there have been tremendous leaders in the offensive side, on the offensive side of the ball. Arden Key, who you really wouldn't think that a D lineman, edge rusher type guy would have that role, but he does. Foye in the middle has been that type of player. He's been a leader by example. So all those guys that we've brought onto our roster and added depth have just kind of embraced that role. And not that I asked them to do it. I think it's something that is in them to do it, and it just helps the overall good of the football team.
Doug, it's Legends Weekend. I don't know how much time you'll have to interact with all the alumni players coming back. I know Logs is always fired up about this weekend. It's Tony Boselli ring day. All that's going on. How important is it to embrace the alumni players and bring them back?
I think it's everything. It's huge because, for these young players on this team, and really even some of the old players, just to understand the history and the value of the organization, where the organization has come from, and the people and the players that have gone before, and kind of paved the way for these guys to have this opportunity. I think it's so important to keep those the legends involved and bring them around, whether it's training camp or the regular season, or to do things in the off season with them. Because I'm one of those guys. I still get the newsletters from about 8 different teams that I was on, but I think it's important to do that and really to interact with the current roster.
Hey, cocktail hour Saturday night. You want to come join us?
I'll come. Let me know when it is. I'll be there.
Love it. Hey, Doug, good luck to you this week. Appreciate the time as always.
Thank you.
Plenty more ahead. This is the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa Debit Card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jags fans, sign up for ESPN Plus to see Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars take on Russell Wilson and the Broncos across the pond at London's Wembley Stadium Sunday, October 30th. ESPN Plus gives you access to nonstop NFL action all season long with live games, originals, highlights, and more. After you sign up, be sure to log into your device with your ESPN account to stream on your TV and other devices. Visit ESPNplus.com/NFL for more details.
It's football season, and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 45 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com. The world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Welcome back. It's the Doug Pederson Show. J.P. Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. Our thanks to head coach Doug Pederson joining us every Thursday. And the Jaguars host the Houston Texans. It's week 5 coming up. All right, so the head coach has got his team rolling and ready to go back to work this Sunday after a tough loss last week. It's expected, and by now you know that the tone's going to be just moderate, right down the middle. No, not too high, not too low. Maybe for not even 24 hours rule. A couple of players in the locker room said, yeah, it was a little less than 24 hours when we flushed this one away and moved on to next week.
Yeah, pretty impressive, right? I mean, as far as how Doug's demeanor is real calm, and it doesn't matter whether you get a big win or you get a big loss. He's real steady. And he was asked that question last week at one point, and he said that he just feels like that, you got to be able to stand up in front of the team and be able to deliver messages without a lot of emotion to let them know where we need to go with messaging, et cetera. And he does a great job with that. And that's, I think, very impressive. A lot of times coaches can be self-serving and they want to go up there and pound the table. We got to – turnovers and giveaways are the bane of our existence.
Somebody's driving down JTB right now, just like jumping out of their seat, pounding the table.
Did I hurt your ears, Joe? I apologize. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I don't care if I hurt Reaver's ears. He's young ears. He can survive.
But we get your point, right? I mean, pounding the table, stand up there like Patton, the whole thing.
It's self-serving a lot of times. Sure. What matters is what you say to your team. And look, I know it sometimes when you have a coach that gets up there and pounds that table, sometimes it makes a fan base feel better. But at the end of the day, that doesn't always help your football team. And what matters is that you are finding a way to make sure that your football team gets through this, that learns from this, recovers from this, and then moves on. Not that I'm just so disappointed. I can't believe we did that, and no, that doesn't work.
No, and that was priority number one for Doug Pederson this offseason, was to earn that trust of the team to get up there and do that and approach them the way that they should be approached, and that hasn't happened around here as of late. And now he's into this season and is able to jump up there and do that.
Well, there was absolutely zero messaging last year.
Right.
So
there you go.
But, look, it's I think, the one thing I think that I came away with from watching the game in Philadelphia beyond the game was that you watched the love and adoration of fans and former employees that Doug spent time with. And the love that they showed to him, the number of former Eagles, or should I say the number of Eagles staff members that were going up to shake Doug's hand and to say hi. After the game, the players that went up to give him a hug, the players, I mean, not just players, multiple. Jason Kelce going up, wanting to do a jersey jacket swap with Doug Pederson after the game.
That's pretty good.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there watching, and I saw Kelce run to the sideline and said, what the heck is he doing? And he goes and he grabs this clear plastic bag, and I'm like, that looks like a jersey in there. And I said, well, he's probably going to go swap jerseys with somebody. And I'm like, well, he's in his 13th year, and it'll be interesting to see who he's going to swap with on the Jaguars team. I mean, does he want? Christian Kirk? I mean, I don't know.
Who's the equal over here, right?
Yeah, so, you're talking about a guy who's won a Super Bowl 13 years in the league, and he goes up to Doug and gives him a big old bear hug, and they embrace, and then you could see that Kelce was giving him the body language. I want to, and Doug's like, my jacket? You want my jacket? And he's like, yeah, and they did it.
Oh.
Yeah, Doug took the jacket off right then and there and gave it to Kelce, and then Kelce gave him his jersey. It was cool, man. And that's, if you're a Jaguar player, you got to love seeing that, because there's a special bond between certain coaches and players, and it's not always a great bond. Sometimes it's a coach-player bond, but sometimes it's a little bit more than that. And you could tell that, and obviously when you win a Super Bowl, it makes that bond even more special. And it was just good to see, and I'm sure that from a Jaguars player standpoint, that was also good to see.
We'll come back in a moment and get into the mentality logs of beating teams that you should beat. hasn't been this has been the team that should be beat for a number of years.
I like saying that a little bit differently.
Okay, we'll find out how when we come back. This is the Doug Pederson Show on Jaguars Radio.
On the road, there's a thin line between safety and tragedy. Don't cross it. Give law enforcement, first responders, and service professionals the space to safely do their jobs. When you see flashing lights, move over a lane or slow down 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. See lights? Move over, Florida. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Your pet means the world to you, so Pet Paradise created a slice of paradise just for them. Pet Paradise is your complete pet health care destination with resort-style day camp, overnight boarding, professional grooming, and compassionate veterinary care from New Day, all located under one roof. Pet Paradise has over 50 locations to serve pet fanatics like you nationwide. Book today at petparadise.com, the official pet care provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Tired of hearing "fine" to every question you ask your child? Conversations with a child or teen in your life may sometimes feel one-sided, but they help build the foundation for lifelong mental wellness. Getting started can be difficult, but you don't have to do it alone. Wolfson Children's On Our Sleeves program provides just what you need to spark conversations that have lasting benefits. For free tools and expert advice delivered to your inbox each month, visit wolfsonchildrens.com/onoursleeves.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
The Doug Pederson Show is presented by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. J.P. Shadrick with Jeff Lageman. We heard from head coach Doug Pederson in the opening 10 minutes of the program, as always on Thursdays. Glad you're along with us. Hope you'll join us at the bank this Sunday in Week 5 as the Jaguars entertain the Houston Texans. Jaguars at 2-2, first place in the AFC South. The Texans at 0-3-1. So, before the commercial timeout, the mentality now, Logs, of, as I put it, beating teams you should beat.
No, you said you're supposed to beat.
Okay.
Or should beat.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of the same phrasing, right?
Yes.
I like the concept or the wording is to win the winnable games. You know, because I think that shows a little bit more respect to the opponent.
Okay.
Okay, and it also
I'm also not on the field having to go against these guys.
Well, and it recognizes that, you know, this is a professional football team that can beat you. You know, this is not Texas A&M and Appalachian State, and you just have this monstrous advantage from a personnel and facilities and everything else standpoint at Texas A&M over App State. I mean, it's just not that kind of comparison. So, you know, and again, the reality, I'll say this again, when we have had this week come up in years past, we viewed the Texans, and last year, the very first game, we were calling them a dumpster fire. You know, with all the situations that they had going on with Jack Easterby as the executive vice president of football operations and how they looked like an organization in disarray. And they took the Jaguars the first game of the season to the tool shed. And it wasn't a pretty look. And then the second game in here was the same kind of process. You know, so look, I hope things are going to be different this year. I expect them to be differently because I think that this is a much different Jaguars football team, and this is a Texans team that is still struggling to find its footing. And you need to make sure that you can take advantage of situations when you have an opportunity.
That's a better way to say it.
Yeah, win winnable games.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot more sense now. A little less abrasive.
Oh, well, I mean, just the saying of win the games that you're supposed to win or that you should win. I mean, that's to use the phrase from Herm Edwards. That's why they play the game.
That's right. Yes. Good point.
So that was one of the greatest interviews ever, by the way. Jim Mora and Herm Edwards, those two interviews are epic.
So this is a new feeling, though, for some players who've been around here for a few years, though, to be in a capacity where they're in first place early in a season with, yes, a division game this week against a team that, in theory, on paper, could be down. So getting the team to play to that standard, I think, is something Doug's going to have to work through.
Well, and the first thing that you need to make sure that you do is control the controllables. Protect the football, be an awareness of the football, and that kind of goes without saying. That's the one thing that we have been harping on and obviously was very glaring in last week's game. Catching the ball. Okay, Christian Kirk had some drops, and I know conditions were what they were, but the Eagles didn't seem to have too much problems with those conditions. Okay, so catch the balls that are catchable. That's for Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, and even Evan Ingram at one point had the one ball that came to him, and it was probably knuckling to him, but he was so consumed, make the catch, that he didn't do anything with it after he got it. And I get it, secure the ball first, and I appreciate that. And but at some point you want to make sure that you can do something with it after you get it. And then defensively, you have to make sure that you're not committing penalties that are making it easier for the opponent's offense. There were a few of them in last week's game as well. So just clean it up, and when Doug talked this week about Washington kind of reared its head again, that's what he's talking about there, to where you have some things that you can control. And then you miss some things. Trevor missing the double move to Jamal Agnew on a deep ball on the outside. He gets a little bit of pressure and he throws it earlier than he wants to. Okay, what can you do differently? Can you avoid the pressure a little bit to buy you that extra time, or can you still make a more accurate throw even though you're getting pressure? Because the reality is in the NFL, pressure happens. So a lot of things that to be learned from last week, and really a lot of things that are just, I think, were reinforced from the Washington game for this football team. And then, look, last week, and not really, we haven't talked about this yet. Nobody's really talked much about this. Last week was a different week.
How?
And I'm not trying to make excuses
stuff?
for the team. Yeah. Tampa Bay, their coach talked about it, about how Todd Bowles talked about how the schedule was disrupted. Well, this football team, there was a lot of these contingency plans being talked about. What they would do. Would they travel out early on a Thursday? Would they move the schedule up? Would they go somewhere else? Would they go to another place and practice? And even though none of those things really happened, there was a slight alteration to the practice from Thursday and Friday, to where they typically, after a Thursday practice, they go in and watch film, et cetera. They moved all of that to Friday, so they just added a little bit more work to the work day on Friday and left it the normal time and everything on Saturday. But how many times, JP, did you stare at the Weather Channel last week?
All week long.
All week long.
Absolutely.
And I think from a player standpoint, you're staring at the channel. You got family and you got friends, and you're wondering what's going to happen. Is this storm going to come to us? Is it going to affect us? I mean, so again, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm just trying to point out that this was a different week, I think, in a lot of aspects for this football team, and that can take, I think, the focus, concentration away a little bit, and then also it stresses your body a little bit, so you're sometimes not as fresh going into a game just because of the nervous energy that you're expending, from those type of things. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm just saying that it was a very different week.
We'll come back in a moment and get into this Jaguars defense. They gave up 210 rushing yards last week. That's in the past. You're looking ahead. The Texans like to run it. They have a young running back that can get some things done as well. This is the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network. Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com. the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa Debit Card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's Ford Truck Month. Now's the time to get a great deal on the only trucks built Ford tough. Work or play, get after it in a new Ford F-150 or Super Duty truck. Get a Ford Maverick or get after any adventure in a Ford Ranger pickup. Take advantage of our best offers on the full Ford lineup of trucks. But you better get going. These deals won't last. Get to Ford Truck Month. Some models, trims, and features may not be available or may be subject to change. See your local dealer for details.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Welcome back. Doug Pederson Show rolling along. J.P. Shadrick with Jeff Lageman and head coach Doug Pederson joining us in the first 10 minutes of the program every week. If you missed him, you can catch the archive on Jaguars.com coming up. Jaguars social media. It's immediately archived after the show. And the official Jaguars podcast network. Download it. It's free. Subscribe. That's the word I'm looking for. Subscribe. It's a free subscription on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you download fine podcasts.
Spotify.
You're a Spotify guy.
Yeah, I like Spotify. And then a lot of times I just go to Jaguars.com.
Yeah, easy. You hit the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. And
beautiful.
You're right there. It's right there in front of you on your computer screen or Surface tablet, whatever.
Yeah, I typically mute you when you talk, and then I wait for Bucky to talk.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you are.
Just kidding.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
No, just kidding.
All right, so last week, we know it by now, 210 yards on the ground for the Philadelphia Eagles in last week's game. Foley Fadukasi is on the injury report this week with a quadriceps issue, did not practice today. Jaguars defensive tackle. It's a Texans team that has a young running back that they handed off to a good bit who seems to be getting better and better. You know, how do they improve? What was the big issue last week in the run defense, and what do you do against Dameon Pierce?
Well, as I mentioned to Doug, about the performance of the three guys up front, you want that to improve and get back to where it was really dominant. And I thought Roy Robertson-Harris has had an outstanding start to his year, and last week was a little off. And I think he'll get back to form this week because he's just been so strong and so powerful, and he just controls the line of scrimmage. Devon Hamilton the same way. But Devon Hamilton was facing, again, one of the top 3, 4, 5 centers in the league in Kelsey, and a guy that has had great experience playing the game. And that was a tough matchup there. Again, credit the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. They've got a couple really good players up front and 2 elite players. I would put Kelsey and then the right tackle, Lane Johnson, in the categories of being elite. I mean, they're top 5 at their position around and anywhere in the National Football League, not just the conference. So they faced a tough matchup, and so you get back to being stout up front, and you get back to being decisive as linebackers, and it's much easier to be decisive as a linebacker when the line of scrimmage is established by your 3 big guys up front because they declare it for you. When they are not in their gaps, then as a linebacker, you're going, okay, do I have to cover up for the gap that's where my guy is not in, where he was supposed to be in, or do I go to where I'm supposed to be? So then you kind of get caught in between of trying to cover a hole that shouldn't be there because the performance is not what it needs to be up in front of you. So combination of things, and and stack the line of scrimmage. And are you worried about the Texans wide receivers if you stack the line of scrimmage? I'm not worried that much. And I know Brandon Cooks has been really good against the Jaguars.
5-0. He's got 5 touchdowns in 5 meetings, 4 100-yard games.
Yeah.
Against the Jags.
Yeah, and look, he's been good, but does he scare me? I mean, I respect him. I would respect him. But I don't think he would scare me because I would feel pretty confident in our guys to be able to match up with him. He's one of those guys that's got great change of direction, so you got to make sure that if you do play him in man, you got somebody that can handle that change of direction and body him up off the line of scrimmage. The other guy on the other side, Nico Collins, is coming off a career game that he had last week. He had 3 catches for 82 yards, and he had I think a 58-yarder, a big one that led to a Brandon Cooks touchdown soon after, and Nico Collins is a big guy. He's got excellent size, and there was one particular play that he ran. Brandon Cooks is known for his speed, but there was one play in particular that really stood out on film that I saw Nico Collins just flying down the field, and when you're fast on film, you're really fast. What I mean by that is when you recognize great speed on film, where you see a guy just flat out run by a defensive back, it's hard not to notice that. And I was like, holy cow, put it this way. Watching, and I see this play, and I immediately after I saw the play went, holy cow, my God, that speed that he just showed there. Put pause on the film, grabbed my phone and did the old GTS, Google that stuff, and searched Nico Collins speed. And he's a legitimate 4.4 guy that's got the size too, So, this is going to be a big play guy that the Jaguars are going to have to respect as well. But if they're not running, if the Texans aren't running with great success, if your big guys get it done on the early downs, it's a lot easier to pressure a quarterback who is struggling in year 2.
Plenty ahead. We'll come back in a moment, though. It's Legends Weekend. The alumni players are coming back.
Yeah.
I sit next to one every week on this show, and Jeff Lageman.
In my own mind, yes.
There's a bunch of other ones coming back this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the guys, and I know a lot of guys can't come in because a lot of guys are involved in football to some extent, where they're at.
We'll come back and get into that. The schedule this weekend for all the alumni players, Tony Baselli being honored. This is the Doug Pederson Show on Jaguars Radio.
On the road, there's a thin line between safety and tragedy. Don't cross it. Give law enforcement, first responders, and service professionals the space to safely do their jobs. When you see flashing lights, move over a lane or slow down 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. See lights? Move over, Florida. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
At Five Star Credit Union, you inspire them to go the extra mile to meet your financial needs. That's why they offer Jaguars fans more banking options like better rates and no hidden fees. Their team is also dedicated to making the communities they serve stronger, volunteering their time and talents while donating millions to local nonprofits. Five Star Credit Union, FiveStarCU.org. Go Jags!
Reconnect with the best version of you at Amara Med Spa, Northeast Florida's premier luxury medical spa, located in Ponte Vedra, Town Center, Avondale, St. Augustine, and Fernandina. With the most advanced injectors, estheticians, and technology, Amara Med Spa is redefining beauty, offering services such as Botox and filler, M-Sculpt Neo, painless laser hair removal, and advanced skincare treatments. Visit theamaramedspa.com and book a complimentary consultation today.
Tired of hearing "fine" to every question you ask your child? Conversations with a child or teen in your life may sometimes feel one-sided, but they help build the foundation for lifelong mental wellness. Getting started can be difficult, but you don't have to do it alone. Wolfson Children's On Our Sleeves program provides just what you need to spark conversations that have lasting benefits. For free tools and expert advice delivered to your inbox each month, visit wolfsonchildrens.com/onoursleeves.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Welcome back to the Doug Pederson Show, presented by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. J.P. Shadrick with Jeff Lageman. The Jaguars and the Houston Texans coming up at the bank this Sunday. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time as the Jaguars return home. It's been a little while. Only one game in the first four here at the bank this season. And this week, Tony Boselli will receive his Pro Football Hall of Fame Ring of Excellence.
Did you saw the picture of it on where?
On the Pro Football Hall of Fame Twitter page.
Okay.
They put out the ring, four photos of Boselli's ring.
Can you retweet that?
I can do that.
Yeah, do that so people...
it's only one button to retweet. I can do that.
Oh, you got that kind of skill set.
I think I can figure that out.
I know you like to tweet, so go ahead
You're
and tweet.
You're a big Twitter guy
yourself.
Yeah,
I'm big. Big on that.
Yeah, so
I'll retweet it as well.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame president will be here, and Jaguars owner Shad Khan. There'll be a halftime ceremony, and the first 15,000 in the gates get 71 teal rally towels. And then, of course, at 10 o'clock, if you come in early to the stadium, you can get your photo with the Boselli bust. They'll bring it down from Canton for the game on Sunday. 11 o'clock, you can see the documentary 71, which is premiering on Saturday night in an event at the Ritz Theater. But if you don't make it to that, if you can't make it there, you can check it out on Sunday, 11 o'clock at Daly's Place. So check that out. And a lot going on in the game. And this is Alumni Weekend. A lot of guys coming back. And I know you're excited to see all of them, Logs. This is one of your favorite weekends of the year.
I beat you to it.
Oh, you retweeted.
I did. I retweeted before you did.
I mean, I'm sitting here working over here. I'm trying to explain what's going on this weekend. What am I supposed to do? 5 things at once?
Write that down.
How many things can I juggle?
I beat J.P. Shadrick
show?
on retweeting something.
Oh gosh.
Write it down.
Anyway, are you excited to see your former teammates, Logs, while I retweet now?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see all the guys, and I think it's going to be a pretty good turnout. Not as strong as a lot of times on Alumni Weekend they try to hold it into November. And then sometimes even the first early part of December, because you can get a higher rate of guys that come back, because a lot of guys are associated with other football programs, whether it be at the high school level, the collegiate level, or what have you. But it's going to be good to see the guys, and I'm looking forward to it. And there's a whole bunch of different events that are going to be happening through the weekend, and I'll get to see the majority of them on Saturday night, and then hopefully again on Sunday morning. So looking forward to it.
That'll be fun. Always is to see.
It'll be great, and I've got to find out. Since Boselli is neglecting his game day duties.
Yes.
Do we get paid extra?
All signs point to no.
I think we should all split Tony's portion.
We would all do very well
of broadcast duties that he is not getting because he's doing this Hall of Fame stuff.
I think we would all do very well that weekend if that were the case. Considering he's got the jacket and a ring and a bus now, I think the price went up.
Yeah. Well, good for him. I think it's great too. It's going to be a cool day. And who's coming from the Hall of Fame? There's a guy,
President
Jim.
I believe. Is it Miller? I should know this. It's been a couple months.
The president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame is coming.
Yes.
Which it's a Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I learned all of this when we were in Canton a couple months ago, that it's a nonprofit, and they don't own all of the stuff.
Jim Porter.
They don't own all of the stuff there that's at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, other than the actual place that you go into to see all the memorabilia. That's the only thing that they own. That a lot of the stuff that's around the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, I think, Hall of Fame Villages LLC, and then also the high school that is attached to that. And so what a really unique kind of arrangement that they have there in Canton. But cool. The ring is going to be cool. So now Tony can just, wear the ring and not wear the gold jacket, because he's been wearing it every day.
Yeah, that's right. As long as he doesn't ask anybody to kiss the ring. We don't need that.
No,
that's not happening.
We're not going to do that.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll come back. We're going to go to the Microsoft Surface for a fan question
All
on
right.
social media.
For me?
That was for Doug. Well, we got a lot of applicants today for the question for Doug.
So we're going to do a bonus one for me.
A bonus one that didn't make the cut for Doug. It's coming your way.
Oh, great. I get the leftovers.
Yes, you do. That's coming back in a moment. It's the Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
It's football season, and time to take your game to the next level with a Ford F-150 truck. Light up your tailgate with an available Pro Power onboard generator. And with an available 3.5-liter EcoBoost engine, you can tow just about anything you need to rule the stadium lot. Ford F-150, part of the F-Series lineup that have been the best-selling pickups for 45 straight years. Get to your local Ford store today. Proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com. The world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Jags fans, sign up for ESPN Plus to see Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars take on Russell Wilson and the Broncos across the pond at London's Wembley Stadium Sunday, October 30th. ESPN Plus gives you access to nonstop NFL action all season long with live games, originals, highlights, and more. After you sign up, be sure to log into your device with your ESPN account to stream on your TV and other devices. Visit ESPNplus.com/NFL for more details.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa Debit Card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Yeah, welcome back indeed. It is the Doug Pederson Show. J.P. Shadrick with Jeff Lageman, head coach Doug Pederson in the first segment each and every week. And by the way, happy birthday to Trevor Lawrence. 23 years old.
God, he's young. Whew. Yeah, he's young, and I look forward to many more years of watching him just continue to get better and better.
23 years old. Wow. To be 23 again.
To be 23.
If I knew then what I know now.
But to be 23 and to have the level of maturity that he has, it's impressive to watch how he handles himself, how he handles the media. He definitely is a special person when it comes to that.
Let's go to the Microsoft Surface here, Logs, for a social media question. Plenty of submissions earlier for Coach Pederson, but we'll save this one for you, Logs. Here it is, @NeedsG on Twitter. Why was James Robinson so limited in the second half of the game against Philadelphia?
Well, you didn't want to ask Doug that?
Well, I'd rather ask you. How about that?
All right, well, here's one of the reasons why. Okay, here's the possessions in the second half. 3 and out, you got sacked, okay, and they were all pass plays, but the sack kind of threw you out of whack a little bit on early downs.
That's right, behind the chain.
Okay, and then you went 9 plays, and then you had the interception, had a little bit of run in there. And then you go 3 and 4 if you get 3 plays and then punt again. And then you got a 45-yard play to Kirk, and then Agnew, a 6-play, 68 yards, and you didn't run the ball a ton there, but you're trying to play catch-up because you were down by 15 points once you got to that drive. So if you don't turn the ball over earlier in the ball game, then you get more plays, you get more runs. And it's the same way in the second half. When you start converting first downs and not having a couple 3-and-outs mixed in the early part of the second half, then you can start stringing more plays together to hand the ball off to whether it be Travis Etienne or James Robinson. Much like when you had the game against the Chargers, and then you're handing the ball off, or the Colts, and you're putting plays together. Okay, then your run balance mix is pretty solid. And I do believe that this is a system that is some systems of the old school football are kind of run first and then pass second. And I believe that this system is kind of a pass first, run second. And that doesn't mean that you still don't have balance. It's just that you accomplish balance in a different fashion. And so the more success that you have of putting plays together, then you will find the balance in the running game, just like you would with an offense that is run first, pass second.
Jaguars had only 46 total plays in the game to Philly's 77. The Eagles had nearly 40 minutes of possession time also.
Right. And the Eagles did a better job. I mean, that's just plain and simple. The Eagles turned the ball over one time, and it was a one-time situation that was early in the ball game where the ball got tipped. And by the way, that was a really, really good play. And Dame Williams made an excellent play undercutting the wide receiver. Darius Williams undercuts the wide receiver, gets the hand up, nearly makes the interception himself. And just a note, we have a tendency to kind of, on a game like that, to dwell on the negatives. Okay, we're -4 turnover differential. Trevor had a record setting. He fumbled the ball 4 times. James Robinson also put it on the turf. Trevor had an interception that he had a bad decision on. Okay, well, was there any good? Why haven't you asked me, has there been anything good?
Well, we got another segment. I mean, I can come back and do that if you want. No, yeah.
You didn't have it in your
There has been
playbook.
some good. There has been some good. I mean, there was some good. They scored on that play on the interception return.
By the way, great blocking.
Great.
On the interception.
That's what they've said they're missing on defense. They've done a lot of other things well. They haven't scored yet. Well, now they can check that box.
Devin Lloyd got a great block.
Yeah.
And Devon Hamilton got an excellent block. You got a great non-block down the field by Josh Allen because it could have been a borderline clip, and he kind of did one of these at the last second. A great decision not to try to engage the offensive player, and that was the play that Jordan Mailata hurt his shoulder on. Ended up kind of diving and then lands on his arm. His shoulder pops out. They had to pop it back in. But the left tackle of the Eagles, that's the play that he got hurt on. But the interception was a great play, and that was a positive. The other positive, Darius Williams had his best performance yet to date. You can see that he's starting to find his groove. And I thought the offensive line, besides the 2 plays that Jawan Taylor had to where he gave up, the 2 pressures and then the cost fumble sack. And you can't always say that, well, besides those 2 plays. But the rest of the offensive line I thought played really well. I thought Fortner played his best game by far. Ben Barch continues to get better and better. Every week he's taken a step up. Cam Robinson put on a really athletic display in that ball game. So there were some really good things to that game. From that aspect, and I think that the offensive line coach, who, J.P., you and I are both fans of Phil Rauscher, and I'm a big fan of his technique and what he's teaching these guys. Not as big of a fan as the former Jaguars offensive line coach, but I'm a fan of his this week because I'm seeing some of the Texans offensive linemen do some of the same stupid, bad set things that the Jaguars offensive line were doing here last year.
All right. Wow. Throwing it out there.
I'm just telling you, I'm being truthful, and I don't know what, and his name's George Warhop, who was the offensive line coach here the last 2 years. When you watch the guards and the tackles set, everything is about angles. Okay, playing offensive line is about spatial relations and geometry. Seriously, and not to sound nerdy or anything, but it's about the angles of the sets and the correlation to the guy next to you. And Warhop teaches the guards to almost have a vertical set to where they open the gate. If the Jaguars don't get 2 sacks in this ball game from running TEs, which tackle gets up the field, okay, on the guard, outside shoulder of the guard, and then beats the inside shoulder of the tackle in the end, goes up the field a couple steps, and then plants his foot and comes underneath. If they don't get 2 sacks on that stunt JP in this ball game, I'll buy you a beer.
Wow. How about that?
A really good beer.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
You're
digging deep into
I'll
the
buy you
pocketbook.
beers all night if they don't get 2 sacks on that.
I don't think I'm going to be drinking, though. Sounds like.
Why?
Because they're going to get them, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They got to get. They will get a
I'm
sack
pulling for them
on
to get the
TE.
sacks. I wouldn't mind a beer either. We're back in a moment. It's the Doug Pederson Show on Jaguars Radio.
On the road, there's a thin line between safety and tragedy. Don't cross it. Give law enforcement, first responders, and service professionals the space to safely do their jobs. When you see flashing lights, move over a lane or slow down 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. See lights? Move over, Florida. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
What do you call a group of friends who wear the same jersey for good luck, no matter how old it is, and who support their team through thick and thin, week after week, as if the very season depended on it, while tossing the pigskin and drinking Miller Lite? You call it Miller Time in Jacksonville. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2022 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Travel Camp RV, official RV dealer of the Jacksonville Jaguars, invites you to come shop their huge selection of inventory for your dream RV. With locations across the Southeast, you're sure to find them close by. Get value pricing on the top RV brands in the country, paired with the guaranteed best financing options available. You can also shop their inventory at travelcamp.com. Travel Camp RV has helped more families make more great memories in an RV since 1982. They're excited to add you to the Travel Camp RV family today.
Tired of hearing "fine" to every question you ask your child? Conversations with a child or teen in your life may sometimes feel one-sided, but they help build the foundation for lifelong mental wellness. Getting started can be difficult, but you don't have to do it alone. Wolfson Children's On Our Sleeves program provides just what you need to spark conversations that have lasting benefits. For free tools and expert advice delivered to your inbox each month, visit wolfsonchildrens.com/onoursleeves.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gate's frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Your pet means the world to you, so Pet Paradise created a slice of paradise just for them. Pet Paradise is your complete pet healthcare destination with resort-style day camp, overnight boarding, professional grooming, and compassionate veterinary care from New Day, all located under one roof. Pet Paradise has over 50 locations to serve pet fanatics like you nationwide. Book today at petparadise.com, the official pet care provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome back. The Doug Pederson Show continues right now.
Welcome back. Final couple minutes of the Doug Pederson Show. J.P. Shadrick with Jeff Lageman. Head coach Doug Pederson in the first 10 minutes. If you missed it, catch the archive, Jaguars.com, social media, or the official Jaguars podcast network. Quickly, Blake Bortles retired He talked about it on a podcast. He didn't officially announce it. That's not really his style, but he's no longer going to play NFL football. But
that great
congrats
guy.
to him.
He's a great guy.
Yep.
And I always was a fan of the person, Blake Bortles, just because he always was there to have a great answer. He just was a guy. He wasn't this quarterback that kind of put himself above everybody else, and he didn't throw the ball beautifully or anything like that, but he gave it everything he had, and that's what I appreciated most about him.
One of my favorite sound bites from him was a 2-point play went wrong or something. They asked him in the locker room the next day, "What'd you think?" He's like, "I just work here." That was it. Feeling good about Sunday, quick?
Yeah, feeling good about it. I think they get the win. I think they win the winnable game.
All right, there you have it. Jeff
break
Lageman,
the streak.
Break the streak. 8 in a row the Texans have won. They'll try to break it Sunday at 1 o'clock. Thanks to our entire crew. I'm J.P. Shadrick. We'll catch you next time. The Doug Pederson Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.